What is going on, college basketball fans? Welcome back to another video. Today we have our updated ncaabb Power 35, our rankings for Week 17 of college basketball. Before we get started, just want to say subscribe. If you guys are new, we do a ton of college basketball content here on the channel. We are getting closer and closer to March Madness, so make sure you guys subscribe. Hit that like button if you guys enjoy. And yeah, guys, let's get right into these rankings. As always, I'm giving you guys the entire Power 35 all at once for you guys to look at. And if you guys are interested, I am going to go team by team and let you guys know what I'm thinking about these teams, at this current point in time, as I always do. And just a little update. We did not get to record a video for the power rankings last week because I did have a power outage on Sunday night last week. However, these movements are still based on last week because I did make a community post. I did make a Power 35. I just was unable to record it. So I'm sure a lot of you guys missed that, unfortunately. But these are still updated based on last week, not 2 weeks ago. So all these movements are still just from last week. But without further ado, let's get it started. So number one is still the Auburn Tigers. I've had the Auburn Tigers as my number one team since I believe week 2 or 3. We are now on week 17, and they have been holding on strong. They took that loss to Florida a couple of weeks ago. Still decided to keep them at number one. I thought that they deserved to. And yeah, they still been holding strong. Haven't lost another game since. Looking really good. All year long, they've looked like the best team in the country. I still believe that to be true. Number 2, we do have the Duke Blue Devils. They put on a show in Madison Square Garden on Saturday night, absolutely destroying Illinois. Made it look like a practice scrimmage. By the time they were halfway through the game, it was really just practice for this Duke team. They were trying out some new plays. John Shire was running up some new plays. They had all their bench players in at the end of the game. I mean, that was just embarrassing for Illinois. So much so that Illinois fell completely out of our rankings. So, yeah, Illinois fans, how are you guys feeling about this team so far now this year? I know that you guys have some freshmen, but that was a disappointing whooping that the Blue Devils gave you guys on Saturday. But Duke staying here at number 2. Number 3, we do have Florida jumping up finally into the top 3. It is, I can't hold them back anymore. They are a certified top 3 team in college basketball right now, and they're just playing fantastic. I mean, what can I say? I think they only have one loss in the month of February, and that was very, very early on in the month, like one of the first games of the month, and that was to Tennessee. Ever since then, they've got a road win at Auburn. Haven't lost another game in the SEC since then. Looking really good. Florida, definitely number 3. Number 4, we do have Houston. Houston jumping up one spot as well. They got a good win against Iowa State this Saturday. Even though Iowa State was missing their 2 leading scorers in Keshawn Gilbert and Curtis Jones, still a good win there for Houston to be able to still get it done, because it did get scary there a little bit throughout the end of that game. Iowa State was still trying to make a run and try to win that game, but Houston held on. They're jumping up one spot, number 4. Number 5, we do have Alabama. Alabama is very up and down, on the road at Missouri. That is a very tough place to play. They got over 100 points hung on them, and Missouri just really was all offense, go, go, go. And Alabama, was still putting up a lot of points, but was unable to keep up with Missouri, and Missouri just held on and was in control of that game the entire time. But they are only dropping 2 spots because, one, Missouri is a very tough place to play. We've seen that time and time again this season, and also they bounced back with a really good win against Kentucky at home this same week. So 1-1 week for Alabama, only dropping 2 spots, but I definitely feel like Florida and Houston deserve to be ahead of them this week. But I will say Auburn, Duke, Florida, Houston, Alabama, I feel are the unanimous top 5 teams in the country right now. That is just my opinion. A lot of that is based on eye test, and really they're looking really good, all 5 of those teams. Tennessee here at number 6. Tennessee jumping up one spot. Good wins this week against Vanderbilt and on the road against Texas A&M. That was a really good road win there for Tennessee. Chaz Lanier Really turned up once again. He had a really hot start to the season, kind of cooled down a little bit. Man, he went ballistic against Texas A&M. I believe he had like 8 3-pointers. Just insane. He was playing phenomenal, and Zakai Ziegler was able to finish it there down the stretch and close it out for Tennessee. They looked really good. Very underrated team, very good defensive team, but they have really their only good shooter is Chaz Lehner, which is really what's holding them back from being like a really good offensive team as well. Is because they don't have a lot of other shooters. But whenever he can start, make 7 or 8 threes, then yeah, that's going to help Tennessee's offense a ton. St. John's here at number 7. They are jumping up 5 spots back into the top 10. I had them in the top 10 a couple of weeks ago. They fell out, and now they're back. 2-0 week. They beat UConn again, and 2-0 against UConn this week. This season sweep. St. John's is definitely the best team in the Big East this year. Michigan State here at number 8, also jumping up 5 spots. I mean, there's not many teams, if any, that had a better week than Sparty. They beat Purdue, and then they also went on the road and beat Michigan. 2 very good wins against the 2, I would say, the 2 other best teams in the Big Ten. I mean, Wisconsin and Maryland are in the mix as well, but Sparty is really got a grip hold on the Big Ten right now. As long as they can really win out, it's looking like they are going to be the number 1 seed in the Big Ten tourney and win the regular season. Texas A&M dropping 3 spots. I know they went 0-2 against Mississippi State and against Tennessee, of course, as we talked about earlier. Only dropped on 3 spots. They probably could have dropped more, but I'll tell you why. They didn't drop more because so many other teams also lost this week. I'm giving Texas A&M a little bit of leeway here. And if they lose again next week, they're going to fall out of the top 10 100% and probably drop down, at least 5 spots. But I expect them to bounce back big time here this week. Clemson almost skipped completely over Clemson. Clemson jumping up 1 spot here into the top 10 because they deserve it. I had them into jumping up to 11 last week. Like I said, I know a lot of you guys probably missed the community post. I hate that I had to do that because I really wanted to get the video out for the power rankings last week, but I did jump Clemson up to 11 last week, and they held strong. They got 2 more wins this week as well, and yeah, including one over SMU on the road, so that was a pretty good win there for Clemson. And yeah, they deserve it right now. They're on a big hot streak so far this season, and I don't even know if they've lost in the month of February, and they beat Duke in this month. Very, very good month in general, and another good week here for Clemson. They definitely deserve it in my eyes to be a top 10 team, and they should definitely be a top 5 seed in March Madness. Iowa State here at number 11. They're dropping 3 spots. Like I said, they were missing their 2 leading scorers against Houston, Keyshawn Gilbert and Curtis Jones. So I didn't want to drop them too far, but they do drop out of the top 10 here. 12, Texas Tech dropped 3 spots. They've got a win against West Virginia, but earlier in the week they lost to TCU. That just wasn't a good loss for them. TCU is a team that has been heating up lately, but they're not a NCAA tournament team at the moment. So that was one that Texas Tech didn't need a loss there. That's kind of what separates the really good teams to like the great top tier teams. Like the great top tier teams aren't going to lose to TCU when they're not supposed to, but a really good team can slip up and do that. So that's kind of what's separating Texas Tech right now. And then they're dropping 3 spots out of the top 10. Wisconsin, similar thing really to Texas Tech. They lost to Oregon in overtime at home, but really it took overtime. It took a tough shot from Jackson Shellstead to even send it to overtime for Wisconsin. They really had that game. They're only dropping 3 spots, but unfortunately they had to drop from number 10 to number 13. But Wisconsin has been a very hot team recently, so they could definitely get back to the top 10 with a really good week here in next week's rankings. Maryland jumping 8 spots, one of our big movers here, jumping up this week. Maryland has been amazing lately. Another team that had a fantastic month of February and is a very big sleeper heading into March Madness. Number 15, we have Kentucky. I have them staying put. They had a 1-1 week. Yes, they did lose to Alabama. I never expected Kentucky to really beat Alabama, especially on the road. Very high-scoring offense as expected in that game. But they also got a win earlier in the week as well, so I decided to keep them here at number 15. Louisville had a 2-0 week. Yes, they did beat Florida State. But teams that they were supposed to beat, they got it done. They're staying put here at number 16. I feel like that is a good spot for Louisville at this point. Missouri, another team that went 1-1. Yes, they beat Alabama. That was a very good win. They hung over 100 points on them. But they also lost to Arkansas later in the week. I know it's tough in the SEC. You know, a 1-1 week isn't necessarily a horrible week. So that is why I'm keeping Missouri here at number 17. They are staying put. You could argue they could jump up because of the Alabama win, but with the loss to Arkansas as well, I decided to keep them staying put here at number 17. But Missouri could definitely, you know, anytime you have a 2-0 week in the SEC, you can skyrocket up the rankings 100%. 18, we do have Michigan. Now, Michigan dropping 4 spots. They took a loss to Michigan State at home in the big rivalry game. And, yeah, Michigan State was able to pull away at the end. Trey Holloman. Shout out to Trey Holloman, man. He was going crazy against Michigan. Him and Jace Richardson, man, you know, they need Trey Holloman. If Michigan State makes a run in March Madness, I think it's going to be because of Trey Holloman. But, yeah, Michigan. Danny Wolf was playing really good, but it wasn't enough. They dropped 4 spots here from 14 to number 18. Number 19, we do have St. Mary's jumping up 5 spots. They beat Gonzaga again, this time on the road. 2-0 sweep for the Gales over Gonzaga this year. What a year it has been for St. Mary's. Jumping into the top 20 here at number 19, jumping up 5 spots. And I really hope this is the year that the Gales can at least get one March Madness win in the NCAA tournament, because they always seem to lose in the first round, even though they are very hyped up and have such good regular seasons. So I hope this is finally the year that they can do it and just get to the second round. Just get to the round of 32. I think that would be awesome. Randy Bennett and these Gales deserve it. Number 20, we do have Memphis staying put. Good win today over FAU. Looked really good in that one. I'm very iffy about Memphis. They could be an Elite 8 team. They could be a team that loses in the first round. It's going to depend on matchups, and it's going to depend on, in my opinion, the 2 X factors, which is Tyrese Hunter, especially with his 3-point shooting, and Colby Rogers. And Dane Danger is going to be a big piece of that as well. He's going to have to score down low and, of course, get some boards and play defense. The defense needs to be there for this Memphis team. Number 21, we have our biggest jumpers of the week, and that is the BYU Cougars. I mentioned earlier Sparty had maybe the best week in college basketball this week. I think they were second only to the BYU Cougars, and that is because they got 2 really good wins at home against Kansas. Blew out Kansas by 40 points. Huge win there for BYU, and then what they do this Saturday, they go on the road and beat Arizona. Now, I will say, some questionable calls there at the end of that game for BYU, in BYU's favor, to allow them to end up beating Arizona on the road. But still, nonetheless, they are a very good offensive team, one of the better offenses in the Big 12, in my opinion. And they are still coming alive, because even if they would have lost that game at Arizona, that's not one that many expected them to win. And, you know, on the road, Arizona, that's a tough game, tough environment. But they were in it with a chance to win. They did get some luck, but they were able to escape there with a W. 2-0 week against Kansas and Arizona jumps them up 9 spots from number 30 up to number 21. BYU, I think after this week, is a lock for the NCAA tournament. Number 22, we do have Arizona dropping 3 spots. Like I said, they did lose to BYU. They're just staying 1 spot behind them, because I did feel like they probably did get robbed in that game. But like I said, BYU was in it. They got a little bit of luck. Arizona, they got a little bit of bad luck, but they're only dropping 3 spots for me. Number 23, we do have Creighton staying put here. They did get a good win over Georgetown here today. Staying at 23, I feel like it's a good spot here for the Blue Jays. Number 24, we do have Purdue dropping 6 spots 0-2 week for them. Not only did they lose to Michigan State, like I did mention, but they also lost to their rival Indiana today. That was a brutal loss for Purdue. That's a tough one there for Purdue. Honestly, I debated if more teams would have won, like Mississippi State, Ole Miss, if New Mexico, if these teams didn't lose this week, Purdue would have been out of the top 25, and Marquette too, honestly. But they decided a lot of teams lost this week, so Purdue, even with an 0-2 week, dropping all the way down to number 24. It was only 3 weeks ago, I want to say, Purdue was in my top 10. Now they're down to 24, hanging on in the top 25 by a thread. Marquette, another loss this week. To Villanova, tough one. Villanova's been a fighter there in the Big East, and Marquette got there by Nova. They're dropping 4 spots down from 21 to 25. Mississippi State and Ole Miss staying put. Both teams had 1-1 weeks this week, and 1-1 week in the SEC, like I said, is not a horrible week, especially when everybody else is losing as well. So Mississippi State and Ole Miss staying put at 26 and 27. I feel like this is the right spots for them. New Mexico dropping 3 spots. They did take a tough loss there on the road at Boise State. I don't really fault them for that one too much. Like I said, a mid-major loss there, only dropping them 3 spots. I still think New Mexico is a very good team. Boise needed that one. That was one I expected Boise State to win at home. Very good environment. They have good seniors on their team. Tyson Dagenhart went ballistic in that one. And that was, Boise State had to have one. Like, that was their Super Bowl. It really was. That was their Super Bowl this year, and New Mexico lost it. I expected them to lose that game, but still they have to drop. They're dropping out of top 25 from 25 to 28. Number 29, a team that New Mexico beat a couple times this year, it is Utah State. They're jumping up 5 spots. 2-0 week this week, including a win over San Diego State. That's a good win in the Mountain West, so Utah State jumping up 29. Number 30, we actually have VCU. As I mentioned, so many teams this week lost. A lot of the teams towards the bubble and, that are on the cusp of making the NCAA tournament in the Power 5 conferences have been very disappointing. It's almost like nobody wants to make the tournament. It's like, oh, this team lost. Now it's this team's turn to get a win, submit themselves in the tournament. No, they lost too. So it's really opening the door for some of these mid-majors who have been consistent and dominating their leagues to jump up here and maybe get an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament. And I'm recognizing some of those teams here in my power rankings with VCU at number 30. I think they deserve it. It was the big game of the regular season for the A-10 conference. VCU versus George Mason. Those are the top 2 teams in that conference. VCU got it done. Very good game by them. I think that they are the most well-rounded mid-major team. I'm not including Memphis, St. Mary's, or Gonzaga when I'm saying this, but I will say, other than as far as like a one-bid league, VCU looking like maybe the best mid-major as far as pulling off an upset. So I'm very excited about this VCU team when we do get to March Madness. 31, we do have UConn dropping 3 spots. Took another loss to St. John's. Kansas dropping 3 spots. They took a bad loss to BYU, like I mentioned. They are down to 32. They bounced back with a win over Oklahoma State. But that, if they would have lost to Oklahoma State, we would have really had to have some conversations about Kansas. I mean, still, they're having a very disappointing year. But Oklahoma State, that would have been rock bottom. 33, we got UCLA dropping 2 spots. They did lose to Minnesota, then they got a bounce-back win against Ohio State. But like I said, everybody was losing this week, so UCLA staying in the Power 35 even after losing to Minnesota, that is honestly very surprising, but they're hanging on. And then 34, we got Oregon. Oregon quietly, very, very quietly, having a really good last few weeks. And I think a lot of people, including myself, I will admit this, have really written Oregon off because they started off so hot and then they went on a major cold streak where they were losing a lot towards the beginning and some in the middle of the Big Ten play. But over the last few weeks, Oregon has really been starting to heat up again, so I will give them some credit, show them some recognition here and put them back in the rankings at 34. Unfortunately, they could not be any higher because UCLA did beat them twice this year, so I wasn't going to put a team that is 2-0 over Oregon. I'm not going to put Oregon above them, so UCLA is at 33 and Oregon's here at 34. And then at 35, we do have the Drake Bulldogs. I actually just about an hour and a half ago watched them beat Northern Iowa in overtime. Very good game. They were able to survive a tough road in-state battle there in Iowa. Drake over Northern Iowa on the road. Tough game there, but yeah, after a gritty win like that, Northern Iowa's a good team as well. Definitely deserve to be in the Power 35, and they are in here at 35. Watch list. I have a few unique teams in the watch list. Hopefully, if you guys are still here at the end of this video, I can explain my reasoning for this team. Wake Forest definitely deserves to be on the watch list. You know, they took a tough loss this week, but they're still a really good team in the ACC. I would say, you know, maybe the fourth best team in the ACC behind Duke, Clemson, and Louisville. So they definitely deserve a spot here on the watch list. And then we got Boise State. Boise State, I decided to put on the watch list because they've been a little bit hot recently in the Mountain West. Should they deserve a spot on the watch list over San Diego State? Maybe. They got a big win this week against New Mexico. Like I said, that was their Super Bowl. We'll see if they can keep it up. Yale is another mid-major. Are they the only team left? I know Akron lost to Ohio. Yale might be the only team undefeated in their leagues in any conference, you know, which is kind of crazy. Yale has yet to lose in the Ivy League conference this year. Arkansas, interesting team. I'll talk about Arkansas and Vandy, both SEC teams that, you know, are hanging in there. You know, they're looking to get an at-large bid for the NCAA tournament. I think they might get it. You know, Arkansas won in 1 week, but they beat Missouri, and their only loss was to Auburn on the road, and they were kind of hanging in there in that game. So Arkansas definitely deserves a spot on the watch list, and Vanderbilt too. TCU, I decided to put TCU on the watch list only because they've had TCU and Xavier, I'll be honest, they don't deserve a spot in the top 35. That's why they're not in here. But I'm giving them some recognition here because they have both had very good months of February, making last-ditch efforts to try to get in that large bid to the NCAA tournament. With so many of these teams on the bubble losing, it's really opening the door for some teams. So to see teams like TCU and Xavier play some good basketball, pick up win after win, you know, during the month of February, I got to give them some props here because they are not giving up on this season. They're trying to make a last-ditch effort to make the tournament. So I'm going to give them some credit here on the watch list. Let me know down below in the comment section, guys. Who did I miss for the watch list? Let me know who else deserves to be on the Daniology Power 35 watch list for next week. Let me know down below in the comment section. Also, let me know who should be higher, who should be lower. What did I get wrong? I'm sure you guys will let me know down below in the comment section. Make sure you guys subscribe if you guys are new. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.